Welcome to the Naughty Corner Gaming. I am Oz. Today, in the first video in quite a while, I'm going to talk to you about games that don't involve dice. And don't get me wrong, I play lots of games like Warhammer, Shatterpoint and MCP. And every now and again, the dice gods give up on me and I decide that in actual fact, I need to play something else. And from that, I need a game that doesn't involve dice. And that's semi-hard to come by. There is a couple out there. So there is Moonstone, a brilliant little game that we will talk about in other videos, but the main one today I want to talk to you and introduce to you is Malifaux. Malifaux is a very different type of skirmish game. It's still a skirmish game, it's still only around 7 to 10 models, but it uses a set of cards. And at this point, I'm sure most people that are watching this are going, well, how does that work? Well, that's what this video is here for you to do, is to tell you how to play a very simple game of Malifaux and give you the idea of what it is, how it plays, and just to sort of touch the surface of, is this something that you could see yourself playing and giving a go? So, for those not familiar with Malifaux, Malifaux is a steampunk Victorian game set up by Weird Games in America, but it has a quite good UK following. We've got around 200 to 250 players and events happen regularly, including nationals, and we have Masters as well. Masters is an invitational event for the top 16 players over the course of the life. It's a competitive game, but it's not that competitive. You still get a good game. So, first things first, outside of what is Malifaux, how do you play it and what do we do? Well, Malifaux is played on a 3x3 game map, and this is going to then have themed terrain, and there's lots of different terrain things, and we will be talking about that in future videos. But today we just want to get the basics. You'll have a crew that is made up of 50 soul stones, okay, and that could be from any of 8 factions and 9 masters per faction, with some henchmen and other models that are allowed to be leading your crew. And this will be for a specific mission. So, with this, you will then form a crew. Your crew is made up of 50 soul stones worth of models. This is effectively the unit cost. You get your master, which is your leader, for free, and that comes with a totem. That is the sort of the little sidekick to your master. In some cases there will be one model, some cases there will be more. It comes down to the master that you pick. From this, we then get into hiring our crew. And for this, we then have 3 types of model. And we'll go into more details about these and the differences between them later on. You get henchmen, you get enforcers, and you get minions. Henchmen and enforcers are typically one-off characters, so you can't take them twice or anything like that. Minions, however, are your foot troops, your sloggers, and you can typically take up to 3, but this will be itemized on the character card. Once you've picked your crew, you'll then arrange them ready for battle. And we'll talk about how the basic mechanics of this game works. So, in my little battle scene here, I have Agent 46, who is a part of the Guild and everyone and part of the Elite and Mimic keyword. Malifaux works on keywords. Here I have Emmeline Belrose, who is a special edition model for Madame Sibel, who is part of the Seamus and Red Chapel keyword. The basic idea here is I'm going to show you how an attack action and interact works. This is based on a unit card. And on the front, there's some very basic abilities called Defense and Willpower, which is obviously our defensive stats. We have our movement and our size, and there's a load of front of card text, but we're not going to worry about that for now. On the back, this is where it becomes interesting. So we're going to look at the Agent 46's Twirling Blades attack. Now, as you can see, it has a range of 1. That means to attack this model, with that attack, it needs to be within 1 inch. Okay, it can be in base space, it's 1 inch or less. So if I was more than 1 inch away, I would not be able to use this attack, and I'd have to do something else. When I am here, I'm now going to declare that I'm going to use the Twirling Blades attack. To make an attack is really easy. I'm going to tell my opponent what their resist stat is. In this case, it's their defense. So Emmeline Belrose has a defense of 5. Whereas my Twirling Blades have a stat of 6. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip a card and add that to the stat for my attack, and then for Emmeline, add it to her defense. So on the attack, conveniently, I'm going to flip a 10. That gives me 16, and there's a ram, and I'll talk about how the suits work in a second. On the other side, Emmeline, she only flips a 6. So that means she's got a total of 11. So currently the duel is 16 to 11. At this point, we could do something called cheating, which is using our hand and influence our cards. But for now, we're just going to keep this as a very simple mechanic. So because I've won with Agent 46, because his duel is the same or higher, that means I can resolve a damage flip. But before I do that, I get to think about a trigger. Now, the different suits that we have allow us to declare different triggers. So in this case, in my card, I have a ram. That would allow me to declare the crit strike trigger. As a henchman, I can use a soul stone, which is a resource that I can generate to add a second one to that, but I have to declare that before the attack action. Again, lots of little nuances, but the core mechanics are here. Okay? Now, to work out what damage we do, we need to flip some more cards. Now, we will always flip one card for damage, and then depending on the difference, we will flip extra cards. So if there is a difference of nothing, we scored the exact same, we would flip 2 additional cards and pick the lowest value. And we'll talk about how those values work in a second. If there was between 1 and 5 difference, we'd flip 1 card extra and pick the lowest. If it's between 6 and 10 of a difference, we would just flip a card and accept that result. If it was a difference of 11 or more, so I had, let's say, a 20 and my opponent had a 8, that would be 11 difference, I would get to flip an extra card but pick a positive. There is influencing factors on this, but we were going to, again, keep it simple for now. So I'm going to declare the ram, which is a crit strike trigger. So I would flip my first card, because I have a difference of less than 6, and in this case, this would be the 6 of crows. This would be a moderate card. Okay, there is cards between 1 and 5 are weak, 6 and 10 are moderate, 11 to 13 and red jokers, these are severe. So in this case, because this is a moderate card, I would look at the damage track, which is indicated on the card where it says target suffers. And if it's a weak card, I'd do 2 damage, moderate card would be 4, severe would be 5. But I've only flipped 1 card, and because the difference was less than 5, I actually need to flip a second. And I flipped the red joker. Now the red joker means that I get to do severe damage, so in this case 5, and add 1 to it, which would give me 6. But because of this ram earlier, and my crit strike trigger, I get to do 7 damage to Madame Sibel. That would take her from 12 wounds down to 5. So just another instance of how this can work as well. So what we're going to do is we are going to go with Emmeline Belrose, and she is going to attack Agent 46. Now, Agent 46 has a defense of 6. Madame Sibel, or Ballerine Surveil, has a bleeder lash, and it's a 2-inch engagement. So in actual fact, if she was further away, she could still attack, but Agent 46 could not attack her back. Her stat is 6, it's against defense. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip a card, and I'm going to go, I'm on 13, the opponent, Agent 46, is on 12. At this point, because Agent 46 is losing, he has the opportunity to use one of the cards from his hand. Now obviously these are a limited resource. So what he's going to do is he's going to cheat in an 8. He is now on 14. Madame Sibel, or Emmeline Belrose limited edition model, is now missing. But I will get to use my cards from my hand as well. And in this case, I'm going to cheat in a 12 to make this attack actually go off. So that means that Madame Sibel is on 18, the Agent 46 is on 14. That is a negative difference because it's less than 5, so that means I'd be flipping 2 cards, taking the lowest. Because I have a crow, I have the ability to use the main trigger, which means that the target would discard a card. So that means that Agent 46's crew, from his hand, would have to discard a card. So I then flip my cards for my damage. So my first one is a weak card, because it's between 1 and 5. So currently I'm doing 3 damage. And again, red joker, just to prove a point, there is another 4 plus 1 damage. In the event that in actual fact we hadn't flipped the red joker, we had flipped on the attack, on the damage, the black joker, that means there is no damage. Regardless of whether you've got things like crit strike or anything like that, there is no damage. The other thing to be aware of when it comes to red and black jokers, as these are important cards in our deck, a black joker, should you flip it on the attack or defense or any duel, you cannot cheat. So that means it is an always fail ability. If you flip a red joker on an action and your opponent flips a card, they cannot cheat. So if you flip the red joker, your opponent cannot cheat. So this, in some cases, this is where you can get that big positive damage. There is lots of little nuances to this, but in fairness, this is the key mechanic that we need to be aware of when we're talking about how to attack and how to do damage to a model. So to help you understand a little bit more about Malifaux, it's the way that we win games, and that's obviously an important thing to understand. In Malifaux, we have 2 types of victory conditions in this game. We have strategies and we have schemes. Each game will have 1 strategy, which will be a choice of 5, and these are available in the app. And then there will be 5 of 13 different schemes. From this, when you pick your crew and when you find out who your opponent is, you get to pick 2 of those schemes to try and achieve. There is a reveal and an end. The reveal will be something you do during any part of the game. It could be an end of turn ability or it could be a resolve immediately. But everything will be really clear and specific on the card. With the strategy, this is scored at the end of every turn, and this is the main body of the game. In turns 2, 3, 4 and 5, as a 5-turn game, you can try and score a point from the strategy. And we'll have videos on how these strategies work, as well as each of the schemes. From each scheme, you can score a reveal and an end, but you cannot score them in the same turn. So you cannot score, let's say, the reveal and end in turn 5 of one particular scheme. Now, these are hidden, and this is what makes this game really interesting. In so much that of those 5 schemes, you have to try and work out what your opponent's doing whilst trying to score yours with limited activations. Typically, a game of Malifaux has 8 models per side, and each model gets 2 actions per turn. As we've already seen with attack actions, there is lots of opportunity for other things as well. So, one of those actions can be just to move, and that'll be using your basic move stat. You can also charge, which will mean you do it to move in a straight line, and then make an attack at the end of it. A really efficient way for killing your enemies. The other thing that you can do, which is really useful, and a big part of the game, is interact. And when you interact, you drop a scheme marker. A scheme marker is effectively your crew's attempt to do something nefarious or helpful, depending on your opinion. And from this, we can score different schemes and strategies. At the end of the game, at the end of 5 turns, after that 2 hour and 15 block, you will have a score out of 8. And that'll tell you who's the winner. It's that straightforward. To help you with all the tracking though, we do have an app on our phones, Malifaux app, and in there you can put your crews, you can do building, very much like a Warhammer 40k app, but it's all free. So you can look at any card from any model, there is no buy-in for it, you can generate games, you can communicate with your opponent through that. And it's a really easy way to get involved in the game. So, to play Malifaux, you will need a Fate deck, you will need a crew, and crew construction is really straightforward when it comes to a buying perspective. Each box that you can get in Malifaux has a keyword on it, and as long as you get the models with that keyword on, you're pretty fairly set. And it makes it even easier because the first thing you'll probably want to buy for your chosen keyword is what's known as the core box. So for example here we have Zoraida, Marcus, and the Victorias. Each of these crew boxes start off and give you your master, your totem, and then some additional models to get you started. Typically at 50 soul stones, you will require an extra couple of boxes. You don't have to, and you can start off in a smaller game, but typically we'd recommend just looking at the models for a particular keyword. If you use our affiliate sponsor here, Rampage Games, if you type in the keyword that you like on their website, that will come up with all the boxes you will potentially need for that crew. Now, like with any game, you get a choice. And that choice is you can play one keyword at an event or in a casual setting and just play that keyword a lot. Some people like that. But at an event, and we're talking competitive local events and national events that we have, that you can actual fact play any keyword from a declared faction. So of those factions, there is typically 9 masters, and then there's henchmen that can lead them as well. You can, technically, own all 9 masters, all 9 keywords, and all the versatile models, which is models that can be hired by anyone without an additional cost. And you can take it all to an event and you can pick your models, master, dependent on the rounds and the experience you're trying to get and the missions that are there. Or you can learn 1 or 2 keywords and you know, have the bases covered. It's up to you how you want to play that and support that. I personally typically like to have 3 or 4 keywords for a faction, but have been known to own pretty much the entire game at some point here. And it comes down to aesthetic. There is a wide range of factions available with models and opportunities to help you make your better choices. But the other thing you might need just to get you started, and this is where some of the starter boxes would come in useful, and they're coming out for each faction, they're not all there yet, is that in there comes with a measuring widget and some scheme markers, the item and token that we talked about earlier. What you can also do is go to our sponsor, Rampage Games, who, again, not only makes Malifaux boxes, it's my other bit of it, we also make all the tokens for Malifaux as well. So you can reach out to us and we will help you set up a new set of tokens and give you a discount for that.